Yeah. Okay, that's good. Um, However, since he puts on the tzitzis prior to until Sedayim, and therefore his hands are not yet clean, okay, shouldn't make a blessing on it. According to the Mishnah Berurah, one should first wash his hands and then don the tzitzis. We'll talk later on about when one makes the bracha on the tzitzis and if one makes the bracha on the tzitzis. Now again, so we have people that the Rav Shulchan speaks about that wear talis cotton tzitzis at night also when they're sleeping, and these people have a separate pair for the nighttime. They're sleeping tzitzis, right? Don't wake them up. They're sleeping. No, okay. The tzitzis that they wear while they're sleeping. Okay. 3. The procedure for the morning Natil Sedayim is as follows. One takes the utensil filled with water with his right hand, transfers it to his left hand. He then pours the water first onto his right hand. After this, he takes the utensil filled with water with his right hand and pours the water onto his left hand. He should do this 3 times. Now, why such a weird way of doing it, right? The answer is as follows. This specific procedure of pouring 3 times and in alternating fashion is necessary to remove the ruach ra, the spirit of impurity, from the hands. Pouring a large quantity of water one time does not remove the impurity from the hands. If, however, one did not wash both hands, then the impurity is removed from the hand that was washed. See Shulchan Aruch 4:2, Mishnah Berurah 4. Okay, as follows. We can't be too smart. So if we believe in this impurity business, we also have to believe in the specific way that Chazal taught us how to get rid of it. Okay? Therefore, it's done in a specific way. That was 3. Now, it is proper to wash the hands until the wrist. However, in a pressing situation, it is sufficient to wash until the knuckles that join the fingers to the palm of the hand. Okay. If he doesn't have enough water, or on Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av, when washing for pleasure is forbidden, so that's how we do it. Okay. One should also wash his face in the morning in honor of his Creator, as the verse states in Bereshit 9:6, for in the form of God he made man. He should also rinse out his mouth because of the stale saliva that builds up inside it overnight, since one must utter the great name of Hashem with holiness and purity. Afterwards, he should dry his hands. According to some authorities, the ruach ra, the bad spirit, does not depart until the hands are dry. Mishnah Berurah 4:2. After washing his face, he should take care to dry his face well. Leaving one's face wet is not healthy for the skin. It could get chapped. Okay. Now, there were those, the Rav Shulchan brings out, he has to wash his face and his feet also, as we said. That's why, according to some people, we go to the mikveh in the morning. Washing out our mouth, rinsing out our mouth 3 times. There's a Sefer Adonai that Lubavitch Rebbe quotes that says we wash out very well. We wash our mouth 3 times from that stale saliva from the nighttime, and after that we can say the special name of Hashem. Number 4. One must wash his hands in such a manner that the water falls into the utensil, in other words, a basin, like we said, and not onto the floor of the house. In earlier times, it was common to have earth floors, and all used water was poured out onto the floor. We learn here that this should not be done with this water of Netilas Yadayim, since it carries the harmful Ruach Ra, the bad spirit, as we said. Rather, it should be poured into a vessel and then taken out of the house and discarded, or you pour it down the toilet or down the sink. When washing into a sink, one can wash in the usual manner, since the water drains away. Okay. It is forbidden to benefit from the water used for washing. It's asabana. You're not allowed to wash the floor with it. You're not allowed to feed an animal with it. So says Mishnah Berurah 4:20. For a ruach ra, the spirit of impurity, rests upon these waters. For this reason, when discarding the water, one should pour it out in a place where people do not walk, so that the ruach ra should not harm the passerby. And it should be poured out right away, not to leave it till the next night when you're going to go to sleep and prepare negelas for the next day, right? No. 5. Prior to washing one's hands in the morning, one should refrain from touching any orifice of the body. Thus, he should not touch his mouth, not touch his nostrils, nor his eyes. If possible, one should refrain from touching even the outside of the eyes when the eyelids are closed, nor his ears, nor his rectum, nor should he touch food. Food that was touched should be rinsed off 3 times, and then it may be used. That's how the Mishnah Berurah says in 4:14. It's very important to know that. Nor the puncture wound from a bloodletting. They used to do bloodletting today. I don't know if anyone still does it. I heard recently they started doing bloodletting again, but whatever. Because the Ruach Ra, the bad spirit that rests on the hands before washing them, can cause harm to these things. Also, one shouldn't touch their clothes, as the Rav Shulchan brings down. If someone has a helper that comes to the house, a non-Jewish one, then it doesn't matter whether he or she touches the food, because they don't carry this bad spirit. And if a small child that did not reach the age of chinuch, in other words, under the age of 9 years old, touches it, it also doesn't matter. However, someone who is careful about this for a cotton from the day of his circumcision, from Yom HaMilah, Kaddish Yom Alai. It's a very holy way of doing it, and if one could do such a thing. Okay, number 6. It is proper to be scrupulous when washing the morning Netilas Yadayim with regard to the laws pertaining to the utensils that is used. That one use the utensil, and that the utensil be without cracks or holes. We'll learn about this later on. With regard to the amount, a revius, between 2.9 and 5.1 fluid ounces. Should be that much, at least. And the type of water used. Example given that the water not be discolored. It should be clean and the color of water. Just like we find these similar laws by the laws of Natil Sedayim before one eats. However, in pressing circumstances, when he does not have the proper conditions available to him and he wishes to pray, he may wash his hands with water from any utensil, with any type of water, and without human force. Without human force. As long as the water was poured onto the hands, the Ruach Ra will depart. Mishnah Berurah 4:17. Human force, when one turns on the sink, that's considered human force because it was the flow started by a human being. Okay. And he may still recite the blessing of Al Natil Sedayim regarding the washing of the hands upon this washing. Yeah. Okay, we'll see more about this. If there is a river nearby, it is better that he dip his hands into the river 3 times, or even in snow, in a pressing situation, in other words. In this case, one should dip his hands into 3 different spots of the snow or the river. This procedure satisfies the obligation to wash before prayers, but there is a question whether it removes the Ruach Ra that we were talking about. Thus, if he later obtains water, he should wash in the manner of the morning until Sedayim, like he usually does. However, if he does not have any water available at all, he should wipe his hands with something. Example given on a dry cloth. Mishnah Berurah says in 4:57. And he should recite Al Nekiyas Yadayim regarding the cleanliness of the hand instead of the usual blessing of Al Netilas Yadayim. And this is sufficient with regards to his requirement of washing it for prayers, but not sufficient for the removal of the Ruach Ra. Now, the Aruch 4:22 and Mishnah Berurah 4:57 points out that since this cleansing of the hand is in place of washing the hands with water, the entire hand must be clean, both front and back, preferably until the wrist, but at least until the knuckles. Okay. Later, when water and suitable utensils become available to him, he should wash his hands again, this time in the proper manner, but he should not recite another blessing. Probably most people today don't make the bracha of Al Nekiyas Nedayim, and the Rav Shulchan Aruch also was not too happy about it in one place. So that's up for grabs, I guess. Okay, number 7. It is written in Tehillim 103:1, Bless Hashem, O my soul, and let all of my innermost being bless his holy name. Since a person must bless Hashem with the participation of all his inner organs, we say all of us, every part of us should bless Hashem. It is forbidden to recite any blessing until he has cleansed his inner organs of excrement and urine. In the morning, when one arises, one usually must attend to his needs, defecate in other words, or at least to urinate. Therefore, he should not recite the blessing of Al Natil Sedayim at the time that he washes his hands, until after he has cleansed himself. After relieving himself, he should wash his hands a second time, and then recite the blessing of Al Natil Sedayim. Some authorities advise that one should wait to recite this blessing until he is ready to begin his prayers, and then recite it along with the entire sequence of morning blessings. Mishnah Berurah 4:4. The blessing of Ashiyatza, who has fear should mean, and the blessings over the study of the Torah. We'll learn about this in this chapter 7, all about the blessings of the Torah. And the blessing of Elikai Neshama, my God, the soul that you have given to me. One who doesn't have to go to the bathroom shouldn't wait a long time, but he should make the bracha properly, and then later he'll do what he has to do. Okay. 2 more to go. Number 8. Where's it? 1 more to go. 2 more to go, yeah. 8. We have learned above in paragraph 1 that the requirement to wash one's hands upon awakening was enacted as an inauguration to the day's service of Hashem, as the Kohen would wash his hands prior to his service in the temple. This is the reason offered by the Rashba in his responsa 191. Rosh in Pesakim Brachis 9:23, however, offers a different reason for this requirement. When a person sleeps, his hands move around, and inevitably he touches parts of his body that are unclean, which we'll learn about later. In his view, the Rosh's view, the sages enacted the morning until Sedayim to ensure that one would have clean hands for prayer. 2 of the Rishonim, 2 of the earlier commentaries that we live from, basis of our oral Torah, is the Rashba and the Rosh. So the Rosh says the reason is because of exalted highness, we're just like the priest in the temple, and Rashba learns it's because we're simple human beings and our hands move around during the night. We might have touched part of our body that have a spiritual impurity. That's why we wash our hands. The halacha recognizes both the reason of the Rashba and of the Rosh. Thus, the blessing of Al Natil Sedayim is recited only when both reasons for washing apply. Okay. In addition, as we have learned, there is an obligation to wash hands so as to remove ruach ra, which we've been talking about till now. This the evil spirit from them. However, this reason alone does not warrant the recitation of the blessing of Al Natil Sedayim. So says the Mishnah Berurah. This paragraph that we're going to learn discusses 4 situations in which one is required to wash his hands, but for the reasons outlined above, does not recite the blessing of Al Natil Sedayim. Now, listen carefully. If one awakened and washed his hands while it was still night, as Allah requires, and then remained awake until daybreak, or if after awakening and washing his hands he returned to sleep a second time while it was still night, likewise, one who slept during the day for 60 breaths, it's about 20 minutes in other words. 60 breaths is the halachic reference to a significant nap, in contrast to simply dozing off. One who dozes less than the equivalent of 60 breaths, even at night, is not affected by ruach ra. Mishnah Berurah 4:34. When sleeping during the day, while one must wash due to the ruach ra that affects a sleeping person, the reasons for washing of the Rashba and the Rosh do not apply. Okay. So that's again, likewise one who slept during the day for about 20 minutes or a half hour or so, which is approximately a half hour, yeah, that's what he said. Likewise, one who remained awake the entire night and did not sleep 60 breaths. In all of these cases, there is a question whether he should wash his hands or not. Therefore, says the Kitzer Shulchan Aruch, he should wash his hands in the usual manner of the morning until Sidayim, in other words, 3 times each in an alternating fashion, like we said before, but he should not recite a blessing upon washing. Okay. Aid. Okay. Number 9, and this will be the final paragraph of this chapter. This sif contains a list of activities that render the hands unclean, and thus a person engaged in these activities must clean their hands before studying Torah or praying. In addition, most of these activities also cause a ruach ra, evil spirit, like we said, to rest upon the hands, and therefore they must be washed without delay to remove it. Okay. Performing any of the following activities requires one who engages in them to wash his hands with water, the requirement to pour 3 times over each hand applies only to washing upon awakening in the morning. Some authorities, however, also require this after visiting a cemetery or engaging in marital relations. See Mishnah Berurah over there. Okay. Now, first thing is one who rises from bed. Second thing is leaves the lavatory or bathhouse. Even one who merely enters but does not use it is affected by the ruach ra and must wash his hands. One who cuts his nails or his toenails, cuts his hair, takes off his shoes, touches his shoes, right? Certain areas of the body, this is true only if he touches them to remove them. One who removes his shoes without touching them does not have to wash his hands. Mishnah Berurah 4:41. Engages in marital relations, touches a louse, lice on a person, God forbid. Delouses a garment even if he does not touch the louse. Scratches his head, but not if he just touches his head. Touches his body in places usually covered. Certain areas of the body are considered halachically to be usually covered regardless of how people of the region dress. Others depend on the prevalent custom. For further discussion, see Mishnah Berurah 4:53. And someone who leaves a cemetery, and someone who attends a funeral or enters into a covered area in which there is a dead person, and one who has undergone a bloodletting service. That'll be enough for tonight. So I would like to inspect some interesting things here that the Sefer Shulchan HaLevi speaks about. Or maybe we'll do a separate learning of this. Have a good night. Have a beautiful day.